Garen is often seen as too simple. To many people, he is nothing more than a massive sword, heavy armor, and strength that needs no explanation. He steps onto the battlefield like a living wall, a symbol of order, the face of Demacia, and it seems as if there is nothing in him but discipline and iron will. But that is exactly where his defining trait is hidden. The simpler he looks from the outside, the heavier his story becomes when you look at it from within. Garen Crownguard was born not just into a noble family, but into a family where duty was not a choice, but the air one breathes from childhood. In Demacia, the name Crownguard meant service, loyalty, martial honor, and unconditional devotion to the crown. For a child like that, the world is divided from an early age not into interesting and uninteresting, but into right and wrong. While others learn to dream, he learns to stand straight. While others search for themselves, he already knows what he must become. And Garen becomes exactly what Demacia wanted him to be. A strong, dependable, steadfast defender. A man who does not retreat. There is greatness in that, but there is a price as well. Because when you become a symbol, you have less and less right to be simply human. Symbols are not expected to be weak. Symbols are not allowed to hesitate. Symbols must stand when others are afraid, must lead when others are in pain, must speak of honor when the throat is bitter with loss. Demacia needs exactly such a hero, and Garen accepts that role. Not because he loves glory, but because he truly believes in order, in duty, in protecting people, and in the idea that strength should serve not destruction but support. But the world Garen lives in is not as simple as old warrior oaths. Demacia is a land of high ideals, but also a land of heavy contradictions. It speaks of honor and justice, yet its fears often harden into cruelty. It wants to protect people, but sometimes, in the name of protection, it begins to crush those who do not fit its vision of what is right. And Garen, as one of Demacia's foremost warriors, cannot stand apart from that contradiction. He is not someone who breaks vows lightly. He is not a rebel by nature. He does not seek chaos. He is one of those who wants to keep the world from falling apart. But that is exactly why it is especially hard for him to watch order sometimes become a source of pain. That burden becomes even more visible when the matter is not only the state, but family. To the outside world, Garen is a warrior, a commander, the face of Demacia. But at home, he is a brother. And his bond with Lux makes his story not merely heroic, but deeply human. Because it is one thing to defend the law when it concerns strangers, and something entirely different to face the moment when complexity, fear, and conflict enter your own home. Where there once seemed to be a clear path, questions appear that cannot be answered by the word duty alone. And it is in these moments that Garen is truly revealed. Not as a perfect statue, but as a man trying to remain faithful to his principles without losing the people he loves. But perhaps the most important part of Garen's story is not the loud battles or his strength, but what happens after the fighting. Because being a warrior is not only about raising a sword, being a commander means carrying the memory of those who marched behind you. Victory is never simply beautiful when you know the price it cost. Behind the words honor and duty in a commander's life, there are always real faces, voices, and families that will never be the same again. And this is where Garen's image becomes truly heavy and adult. He is not just a hero who defeats the enemy. He is a man who keeps moving forward even when his shoulders carry not only armor, but the burden of another person's loss. This is where his strength truly lies. And it is not always visible at first. It is not only in the strike of his sword, and not only in fearlessness. His real strength is in his ability to remain himself where anyone else might have grown hardened. In his ability not to hide behind loud words, but to quietly do what he believes is right. In his ability to endure another person's pain, his own doubts, and still refuse to abandon the idea that honor must mean something. Garen does not look like a character who speaks much about his feelings. But that is exactly why every moment when he faces the consequences of war, survivor's guilt, and his duty to the families of the fallen carries such weight. In those moments, he stops being merely a knight of Demacia and becomes a man whose faith in order is tested by reality. And perhaps that is exactly why Garen matters so much to the whole story of Demacia. Through him, we see not only the character himself, but the nation as well, its strengths and its cracks. Through him, we can understand why Demacia inspires both respect and debate. He is not perfect, and that is his value. He is not a cynic who no longer believes in anything, nor a fanatic who cannot feel another person's pain. He stands somewhere between those extremes where a person must decide again and again what honor really means. Not in speeches, not in slogans, not in beautiful symbols, but in concrete actions, after which you are left alone with the consequences. That is why Garen is not just a champion with a simple set of visuals. He is the story of a man the world has grown used to seeing as too easy to understand. A warrior who became a symbol, yet never stopped being a brother, a son, and a commander. A defender who believes in order, but lives in a world where order does not always bring peace. A man who carries a sword not only as a weapon, but as responsibility. And the more closely you look at him, the clearer it becomes. Behind Garen's outward straightforwardness lies one of the strongest and most human conflicts in all of Demacia. And that is exactly why he is worth telling stories about. Not only as a hero, not only as a fighter, not only as the face of a region, but as a man who chooses to keep moving forward every time, even when there are no easy answers ahead. In a world where many characters impress through magic, cunning, or madness, Garen remains impressive in a different way through his weight, his loyalty, and his ability to carry not only strength, but the consequences of that strength. And maybe that is his true legend. Not that he never doubts, but that he keeps standing even when doubt has become impossible to avoid.